Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and the world as you know it is just completely gone.
Right, like totally vanished overnight.
Yeah, exactly. You turn on the news and there's just this massive global panic. A completely unstoppable virus is swept across the planet. But, and here's the catch, it doesn't affect humans at all.
It only affects animals.
Right. Every single animal on Earth is infected. And if you eat their meat, it is deadly.
I mean, it is the ultimate global food crisis. Overnight, every steak, every piece of chicken, every slice of bacon, it all just becomes toxic.
People will be terrified.
Oh, absolutely. Supermarket shelves are empty in like hours. You have this massive population that suddenly realizes they might actually starve to death.
So naturally, the governments of the world step in, right? They ban all animal meat. Complete prohibition. And you would think, logically, society is just going to have to switch to eating plants.
Like we all just become vegetarians, we figure it out, we survive.
Yeah, exactly. But in the world we are looking at today, that is not what happens. Instead, society makes a choice that is just, well, it's pure unimaginable horror.
Yeah, it really is.
They actually legalize the breeding, processing, and eating of human beings.
It is such a terrifying premise. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are exploring the dark, honestly deeply disturbing story, The Meat of Man, which is based on the novel Tender is the Flesh.
And our mission today is really to look at how an entire society can just normalize the absolute unthinkable.
Right. How do you get people to accept that?
Exactly. And we're going to follow one man living right in the middle of this nightmare, whose attempt to seemingly rebel leads to probably the most shocking twist we have ever covered.
It's quite the ride.
It really is. And what makes this story so chilling isn't like a chaotic, post-apocalyptic wasteland where people are just hunting each other in ruined streets.
Right, that would almost be easier to understand, like a zombie movie or something.
Exactly. We've seen that. But this is a fully industrialized, legal, highly regulated system. It is basically the exact same factory farming system we have right now for cows and pigs, but for people.
Yeah. The governments haven't just allowed cannibalism, they have corporatized it.
Which is insane.
It is. And to pull that off, to make everyday citizens comfortable buying this product at the grocery store, the very first thing they had to do was change the language. I mean, you cannot sell human meat if you call it human meat.
No, of course not. And the book shows how they completely stop calling them people or humans. They refer to them simply as head.
Right, head.
And that just sent a complete shiver down my spine because let's unpack that for a second. That is exactly how farmers talk about cattle. Like, oh, I have 100 head of cattle.
It's so clinical.
In just one single word, it instantly strips away their humanity.
What's fascinating here is that changing the label is the ultimate psychological shield.
Yeah.
If you call someone a head, you don't have to think about their dreams, their families, or their pain.
You just detach completely.
Exactly. You don't have to feel guilty about putting them in your shopping cart.
Yeah.
But language is only the first step. The physical reality of the slaughterhouses has to reinforce that lie.
And the physical reality is brutal. I mean, pure nightmare fuel. The humans that are bred for food, they actually have their vocal cords removed.
Yeah, that part is rough.
That detail just stuck with me so much. They are surgically altered at birth, so they cannot speak, they cannot form words, and, like, most importantly, they cannot scream in a way that sounds human.
It is a masterclass in dark industrial design. Because think about the workers standing on that factory floor.
Right.
A human scream would instantly trigger empathy.
Right, it would wake you up.
It would shatter the illusion entirely. But an animalistic grunt or a silent gasp, that doesn't trigger the same protective instinct in our brains.
Wow, yeah.
The system is intentionally designed to remove literally any trait that might remind the workers, or the consumers for that matter, that these creatures are exactly like them.
And once that voice is gone, it is just a cold, mechanical assembly line. They are stunned, hung upside down, bled out, and butchered.
Just like regular livestock.
Just like it. Packaged into neat little cuts of meat with a plastic wrapper and a barcode. The story even describes workers standing around casually joking with each other, talking about their weekend plans, while they're literally butchering human bodies.
Yeah, and that reflects a concept known as the banality of evil. When something horrific becomes a daily routine, accompanied by strict health codes and safety regulations and quality control quotas, it stops feeling like a crime.
It just feels like a regular Tuesday at the office.
Exactly. It just feels like paperwork. They have essentially put a bureaucratic mask over a nightmare.
But, if this system is so perfectly bureaucratic, it must take a massive human workforce to run it. I kept wondering how the people actually managing these slaughterhouses don't just, lose their minds.
It's a heavy toll.
Which brings us to Marcos Tejo. He is a manager at one of these human processing plants. It's his job to oversee the slaughter and make sure the factory is hitting its numbers.
Right.
But he is deeply uncomfortable with all of it. He doesn't join in when his coworkers are joking around. He is just thoroughly disgusted by the world he lives in.
He is a man caught between his internal morality and the external reality of his society. He goes through the motions every single day, completely surrounded by blood and death, but he never actually accepts it as normal in his own heart.
See, I really struggled with Marcos, to be honest.
Oh, really? How come?
It just feels like cowardice to me. Wait, if he hates what he does, why doesn't he just quit? If you are managing a literal human slaughterhouse and you know it's purely evil, why not sabotage the plant?
You want him to be the hero.
Yeah, why not blow the whistle or join a resistance? If he just keeps showing up to work, isn't he secretly an evil guy? Isn't he just as much of a monster as the rest of them?
Well, it is easy to judge him from the outside, for sure.
Yeah.
But to understand his paralysis, we really have to look at the deeper context of his life.
Okay, fair enough.
Because Marcos is not some evil mastermind, and he isn't a brave revolutionary either. He is just a completely broken, emotionally numb man. His personal world was destroyed long before the virus ever hit.
Right, because he lost his young son.
Yes, the unimaginable grief of losing a child. And that grief completely destroyed his marriage.
I can't even imagine.
His wife left him because she just couldn't cope with the loss while being around him. The house was too heavy with memories, so she lives separately now. And on top of all that, Marcos's elderly father is suffering from severe dementia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's living in an expensive care facility.
So when you lay it out like that, I mean, his son is dead, his wife is gone, and his father is losing his mind. He is entirely alone.
Exactly. When you look at Marcos, you are looking at a man who is basically sleepwalking through a nightmare because his own personal reality is already shattered.
He's just empty.
He goes to work at the slaughterhouse because it is a routine. And that routine pays the bills to keep his father in a safe care facility. When your own life is broken into a million pieces, fighting against a massive, terrifying global machine just feels impossible. He simply has no fight left in him.
That actually does reframe things quite a bit. He's just existing. He is a ghost haunting his own life.
Precisely.
But then right in the middle of this numb, gray existence, something happens that completely shatters his routine.
This is where things take a huge turn.
In this society, wealthy people have a lot of power and a lot of terrifying privileges. And one day, a very powerful client gives Marcos a gift as a thank you tip for his work at the plant.
And this gift is a living, breathing, healthy, young female head.
Which is just, ugh.
She hasn't been put through the processing line yet. Her vocal cords have been removed so she cannot speak, but her body is fully intact. And the law is very clear on this. You're supposed to take a gift like this straight to the slaughterhouse to be butchered for your own personal freezer.
Just a horrific concept. But Marcos doesn't do that. Instead of sending her to be killed, he secretly takes her to his home and hides her.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
Right. Keeping a living head outside of the regulated factory system is totally illegal. If he gets caught, he could be killed or processed himself. But he hides her anyway. He feeds her. He cleans her.
He takes on an immense risk to keep her alive in his house.
And see, when I first read this part, I thought, okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Here's the turning point. At first, it sounds like a rescue mission.
I think a lot of people feel that way initially.
Right. Like he finally woke up from his numbness, and he is fighting back against this awful system to save this one innocent woman's life. I fully expected him to try and smuggle her across a border or find some underground rebel group.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we see that is just the narrative we are conditioned to expect.
Yeah, we want the good guy.
We want the broken man to find his redemption by saving the innocent victim. It makes us feel better about humanity. But if we look closely at the psychology of what is actually happening inside Marcos's house, it is so much darker than a rescue mission.
Because he doesn't actually try to free her.
No, he doesn't. Look at the power dynamic between them. He isn't treating her like an equal human being. He locks her in his house. They cannot communicate. She is entirely 100% dependent on him for food, for water, for her very survival.
He essentially keeps her in a cage, even if the cage happens to be a nice house.
Exactly. This isn't a rescue. It is about absolute control. He treats her more like a stray pet that he brought home than a traumatized person.
Oh, wow.
He might not be violent with her initially, and he might seem compassionate by offering her a warm bed and food, but he's still acting as her owner. He is still playing by the rules of a society that dictates he's a person and she is property.
That is so creepy. He thinks he is being the good guy, but he is actually just creating his own tiny little prison where he gets to play the benevolent warden.
Perfectly said.
It really shows how deeply the society's brainwashing has infected him, even if he claims to hate it.
Yeah, he is projecting his own desperate need for connection onto a being that has absolutely no power to say no or to leave. And this really sets the stage for a rapid descent into absolute darkness.
It does. The dynamic between Marcos and this woman gets so much more disturbing from here, because Marcos actually starts a sexual relationship with her.
Which we have to view strictly through the lens of power and coercion. I mean, she cannot speak, she cannot leave, she cannot consent in any meaningful way.
Exactly. And the inevitable happens. She gets pregnant.
Right.
So
Yeah.
now Marcos has a pregnant, mute woman locked in his house. And you would think the pressure of this secret would consume him. But instead, the story shows Marcos just continuing to go about his normal, terrifying life in this society.
Business as usual.
Yeah. And the author uses this time to pile on the horrors, showing us just how thriving and deep this awful system really is.
The parallel events happening while she is pregnant are crucial here. They reinforce just how deeply embedded the dehumanization is. For instance, Marcos has to visit elite hunting reserves for his job.
I had to read that section twice just to make sure I was understanding it correctly. Because, wait, wealthy people literally pay to have humans released into the woods so they can hunt them down for sport.
Yes, like a weekend safari, but for people.
And the hunters treat it like a luxury vacation. It's sick.
It is the ultimate display of dehumanization as entertainment.
Yeah.
The society has moved far beyond just surviving a food crisis, They are now reveling in the cruelty.
That's a great point.
Marcos also continues dealing with clients at the plant who demand very specific, customized cuts of human meat for dinner parties. The society is not waking up. The system is not breaking down. It is functioning perfectly, and Marcos is actively participating in it every single day while hiding a pregnant woman at home.
It's wild to think about how easily we ignore the origins of our own fast fashion or like factory farmed food today. We know the conditions are often terrible, but we put it out of our minds because it is convenient.
Right. It's out of sight, out of mind.
Marcos is doing that, but dialed up to an unimaginable, horrific extreme. And then right in the middle of all this quiet domestic horror, Marcos's elderly father finally passes away.
And that death is the defining psychological turning point for Marcos.
How so?
Well, his father represented the old world. The world before the virus, the world where eating humans was an unthinkable, monstrous crime. As long as his father was alive, Marcos had a physical anchor to his past morality. His father was the only reason he was participating in the slaughterhouse system to begin with, to pay for his care.
But when his dad dies, that very last emotional tie to being a good person is just severed.
Exactly. The old world is officially dead to Marcos. There's nothing holding him back anymore. He becomes completely untethered from any remaining sense of normal human ethics.
Which brings us to the climax. The birth. The woman naturally gives birth to a baby in Marcos's home.
A huge moment.
Yeah, and this feels like a monumental event. This baby wasn't bred in a cold metal laboratory or a sterile factory floor. It is a naturally born child brought into the world in a quiet house.
It represents a tiny, fragile spark of something purely human outside of the industrialized slaughter system. It is a moment of actual organic life in a world obsessed with mechanical death.
So surely this is the moment, right? He looks at this newborn child, he looks at the mother who just gave birth, and he realizes, I have to get us out of here.
You'd hope so.
So what does this all mean? Does this new baby finally wake him up? Do they pack up the car, run away together, and try to start a real family somewhere off the grid?
That is the ending our hearts desperately want. But the ending we get is what makes this story a masterpiece of horror.
He really is.
They don't run away. Right after the beautiful natural birth, Marcos walks over to the woman, and he calmly, methodically kills her.
It is just so shocking. I literally felt sick reading it. He doesn't just kill her, he processes her.
Yes, he doesn't do it in a fit of rage. He doesn't have an emotional breakdown or a sudden psychotic break. He uses the exact same butchering steps, the exact same processing techniques that he oversees every single day at the slaughterhouse.
He treats her body like a product.
Exactly. And then He keeps the baby.
He slaughters her like livestock right after she gives birth to his child. I mean, wow.
Because in the end, Marcos never saw her as human. Not even for a single second. His entire rebellion of keeping her alive, his gentle treatment of her, it was all a complete lie that he told himself to feel better.
That is so dark.
He didn't want to save her. He wanted to use the horrifying rules of his society to get himself a new child.
To replace the son that he lost.
Precisely. He wanted a child, and his society provided him with a piece of property that he could breed. Once she gave birth, her biological purpose to him was complete.
So he just got rid of her.
So he disposed of her in the exact way his society trained him to dispose of her. The dark, terrifying truth is that Marcos hasn't escaped the system at all. He is the system.
It leaves you feeling entirely cold. It completely redefines every single action he took throughout the entire story. He wasn't fighting the monsters. He was just learning how to be one quietly, behind closed doors, in his own home.
He used his tragedy as an excuse to commit an atrocity, all while convincing himself he was somehow morally superior to the workers laughing on the factory floor.
When he was actually worse.
Right. In reality, his actions were far more calculated and intimate in their cruelty. He didn't just slaughter a stranger, he slaughtered the mother of his child because society told him it was acceptable.
The real horror of the meat of man isn't just the blood. It isn't the graphic slaughterhouse mechanics or the hunting reserves. I mean, those things are disgusting, obviously. But the true horror is how easily the human soul can just be erased. It is about how a broken man can completely trick his own brain into thinking he is doing something special or caring when he is really just acting as a monster.
It exposes the extreme danger of normalization. When the entire world around you tells you over and over again that a living, breathing being is just a product, it is terrifyingly easy for your brain to accept that lie.
Especially if it benefits you.
Especially if accepting it gives you something you desperately want, like a child. We like to believe that our morality is a fixed, unbreakable thing, that right and wrong are hardwired into our DNA. But stories like this remind us that morality is incredibly fragile. It is heavily influenced by environment, by fear, and by language.
Yeah, if you change the words and you change the laws, you can change what people are willing to tolerate. And for you listening, that is the part that really crawls under your skin and stays there.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It is scary to think about how quickly humans can adapt to literally anything. We can adapt to and even vigorously defend the absolute worst things imaginable, as long as everyone else in society says it is normal.
As long as there are strict rules, proper paperwork, and a clean factory floor, we can turn a blind eye to pure evil.
Exactly. It forces us to examine our own complacencies. What horrors are we currently ignoring in our own world simply because the system around us tells us it is necessary for our survival or our comfort?
That's the real question.
Which brings us right back to that terrifying scenario we started with. We asked you to imagine waking up in a world where the unthinkable has become the law of the land. The system is rigged, the language is altered, and everyone around you is just going along with it to survive.
It's a chilling thought.
So we want to leave you with one final haunting question to mull over after this deep dive ends. If you lived in a world where everyone around you agreed that something truly evil was actually perfectly fine, how sure are you that you would be the one to stand up and say no?